My name is Alba Stierhoff. My maiden name is McLean, and I was born August the 24th. No. I was born August the 21st, in 1938. I know when I was born, most of the time, in Franklin, North Carolina. And I was born in the hospital. None of the rest of my brothers and sisters were. My oldest sister, she always said, call me your big sister, not your old sister. Or call me your old sister, not your big sister. She always was funny about her weight. Her name is Jacqueline Laverne McLean. And then my brother, James Edwin McLean. Then my youngest sister, Norcella Ann McLean. And my youngest brother, Robert Gene McLean. It was just a lot of laughter and a lot of carrying on with 5 kids. My mother's maiden name was Ada Elizabeth Bryson. She was born in 1919 in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. Her parents were both deceased when she was 12. She left school and worked as a cleaning lady for a lawyer. She had a lot of special talents. She could take nothing and make something out of it. She made all their clothes out of flour sacks. Don't make me cry. My father's name is Jack Yancey McLean. He was born in Silva, North Carolina, in a log house in 1919. He worked as a lumberjack, and I might add that he helped his father with a moonshine still. And then when we moved to Maryland, he became a painter, not an artist. My father could always sing. He sang very good, and he loved to whistle while he worked, and he was often whistling. And he could raise one beautiful garden. He knew all about gardening, and if there was a tree standing, he knew what kind of wood it was. And even though he only went to the 4th grade, you couldn't mess with his numbers. He knew his numbers, especially when it came to money. My mother's very favorite saying that I will always remember, and I think I might have said that to my kids a time or two, and she always knew when we weren't telling the truth. She would say, be sure your sin will find you out. I guess my favorite memories of my father was when I was a teenager. On Friday nights, we would watch boxing. I know how ridiculous that I would love to sit and watch boxing. And he would stop at the market on his way home and get pickled beets. And can you imagine? It just grosses me out. Pickled pig's feet. And if my father was eating them, so was I. And I can't even imagine doing that. And we would bet a quarter on who was going to win the boxing match. And those were my favorite memories of my father that are good. My mother and father had a very rocky relationship, to say the least. It was always up and down, and for some reason, as we got older, it didn't improve, and every Christmas we could count on them having a huge argument at whoever's house we were at Christmas about, well, when I married you, you had a barn full of onions, but all you had was your duck eggs and such nonsense. But when I was 16, they separated. Neither one of them ever remarried, and they could say whatever they wanted about each other, but no one else could say anything about them. That was their relationship. I actually never realized until I was much older how difficult and how really poor my parents were, and how difficult it was for them raising 5 children, and all of us so close together. But when we lived in the South, it was much easier because we grew our own vegetables, we raised our own meat, we raised chickens, and we had cows for our milk, we had pigs, and it was easier food-wise. But clothing-wise, my mother made our clothes, and I often wonder what she did with my brothers. I don't know about their clothes, but she made our toothbrushes out of birchwood, a little twig from the tree, and she would rub it until it made a little brush at the end of it, and baking soda was our toothpaste. And we had no cavities because we had no candy, no sweets. That was a treat. That was a Sunday thing. And I think life was better when you have food to eat than when we moved to Maryland. Life was very difficult. My mother's parents, mother was Ivor Lee Holland, and my grandfather was Patton Monroe Bryson. They were both born in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. My grandmother passed away very young with a goiter. I would think now it's probably called cancer or a tumor, and it was a growth in her neck, her throat, and it gradually just choked her to death. And my grandfather died of tuberculosis. My grandfather's name was Zeb Backus McLean. My grandmother's name was Fannie Mae Bowers. She passed away when she was 30. He remarried. The only grandmother I really knew was Ruthie Buchanan. They were probably born around Bryson City. Well, I know my grandfather did timber and moonshine. He never drank, he never smoked, but he did snuff. Oh, my grandfather was always telling horror stories right before we went to bed. You have to bear in mind, we had no electric, and the bathroom was outside because we had no bathroom in the house. So we all would sit around the wood stove in the living room, and they would tell us stories that would scare us to death and then send us to bed. From North Carolina, we moved to Tennessee. And then we moved back to North Carolina. And then we moved back to Tennessee. And then we moved to back to North Carolina. And then we moved to Detroit, Michigan.
So you went to Tennessee twice.
Mm-hmm. And then we moved back to North Carolina. Every time we moved, we would move back to North Carolina and then move from there. And then after we lived in Michigan, we moved back to North Carolina, and then we moved to Maryland when I was 12. And I've been here ever since.
And what part of Maryland did you move to when you got here?
Baltimore.
What was your least favorite home to live in?
The one we lived in, downtown Baltimore, it had been a funeral home before it was a house.
How old were you when you lived there?
I think I was about 6, maybe 7. And it was very scary.
When you lived in Baltimore?
Mm-hmm. We moved to Baltimore. I forgot we moved to Baltimore a couple of times. I forgot that we moved to Baltimore a couple of times because I was 12 the last time we moved.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
What? No, how did
Yeah.
you have all those other
Yeah,
experiences?
because I remember we lived down near the market, and the street was
Lexington?
Lexington Market, and the street we lived on was Burgundy Street, and the house we lived in had been a funeral home, and we lived in the bottom basement. That's where they would take the hearse in, and yeah.
So this favorite house that you lived in, what did it look like?
It was an old house.
Was it an old farmhouse?
It was an old farmhouse. But it had a real big front porch and no electric. But it had, in the summer, it was beautiful. It had huge wisteria vines growing across the front porch, down both sides of the post and all the way across, and it was beautiful. And I can remember sitting on the front porch with my grandfather, and that's where we had the apple orchard and the walnuts. And my parents, they blanched apples and put them in. They did it with ether or something because they didn't can them, and they could take them out like fresh apples and make pies and cook them for the winter. You know, I can say we grew all their own veggies and had all the meat and all, but as the winter wore on, so did the food supply go down. So I thought, many times, I thought we had cornbread and pinto beans because we liked it, and I still like it to this day. And I thought we had cornbread and buttermilk because we liked it, and I like it to this day. But that is not why we had it. That was all we had.
Now, did you have a bedroom in this house?
My own bedroom? No.
Well, tell me about your bedroom.
All the kids had the loft. The loft of it was a log house. And
this is in your favorite house, the one with the wisteria?
No.
Okay, that's the one I want you to tell me about.
Oh, okay. We had a big bed in the family room, and my sister, two sisters and I.
Wait a minute. Was that a common thing?
It was for us.
But like when you went to your aunt's house, did they have the same thing?
No.
So it wasn't like
I suppose, thinking about it, it was probably only 2 or 3 bedroom. It couldn't have been a 3-bed. Yeah, I think it was a 3-bedroom house. My grandparents had their bedroom, my parents had theirs, and then my 2 brothers had a very small room, and then we had a big bed in the living room with the sofa, but everybody went to bed when my grandfather did, and he went to bed at 8 o'clock. And so everybody went to bed, and it didn't matter that, you know.
Was it, what kind of bed was it?
Oh, it was a feather down bed. It was comfy. I remember it was a big old feather bed.
Was it hot in the summer? Or did they stay
never
cool?
hot there. It was never hot. It was so far back, the sun didn't shine that good.
Did you have any stuffed animals or dolls or toys? What did you guys play with at that house?
You know, we made our own games. We did our own thing, and especially in the summer, we would build ourselves a swimming hole. We would take rocks and pile them up, and you're very creative when you have to be, and when you don't know any different. And when I think back now, I'm surprised we're still living, because there was a den of copperheads in our basement, and that summer my mother personally killed 35 copperheads.
Oh my gosh!
In and around the house. But you know, it's odd. They never worried about us getting bitten by one, and we weren't afraid. But we did. We would dam up this the spring and make a swimming pool, and then there was a grapevine and we would swing across this. Oh, it's horrible when I think about it. It probably was 10, 15 feet deep across this big gap in the ground from one side to the other. We would get on that grapevine, and my two brothers and my sister and my oldest sister was living with my Aunt Eula, so she actually never lived there at the house with us. She lived with my Aunt Eula. But my two brothers and my youngest sister and I. And yeah, we just thought that was the grandest thing, swinging across there.
I would think it was cool. What was your favorite house to live in?
My favorite house was the one with the apple orchard, because it was good memories there.
Hey, when you had visitors, did they knock or ring a bell? Or did they just walk in?
They would just open the door and holler, "Hey, anybody home?" And of course, we didn't have a car, so how would they know if we were home or not?
And obviously no telephone.
Obviously. We did have a battery-operated radio, and we would sit around before we went to bed and listen to the creaking door, and it was a lot of neat stories on.
That's a program on the radio, the creaking door. You didn't listen to the door creak.
No. The name of the program was Creaking Door, and it came on, and it's neat when you think back and you don't have a television, you don't have anything, and you have to imagine all this.
Did you guys eat in the kitchen, or did you have a dining room?
We had a dining room, and we all ate in the dining room.
And what did the table setting look like?
The table was always set. When the dishes were done, we put the dishes back on the table and covered it with the tablecloth. So it was always set.
Really? Mm-hmm. Was that standard practice of the
no,
time or the
you had
location?
Breakfast, and then you had dinner, which was, we call lunch now. It was breakfast, dinner, and supper. So there were 3 meals, cooked meals. So it was senseless to put all the dishes away and then take them back out. So there was certain things that stayed on the table all the time, like your salt and pepper, and probably even the butter, because we had the spring house where we kept things to keep them cold.
What did your salt and pepper containers look like?
They were glass. We had some one set that was metal that they
were they. Well, I get what I was asking is, were they shakers or were they,
they were
dishes?
Shakers.
Okay.
Yeah. They were more, as a matter of fact, those big green ones that I have. They were similar to that.
Okay. Did you guys say grace?
Oh, most definitely.
Who led grace?
My grandfather usually.
So were they religious people?
Oh, yeah, even though he had a still, that didn't stop him from believing in God and going to church. Yeah.
So you had a spring house that kept things cool. Did you have an ice box? You wouldn't have had, I don't know.
No. We had...
Because the ice box is not electric, right? That was before.
No, an ice box we had when we moved to Maryland.
Okay. And someone came and delivered ice. So nobody would have delivered ice to...
No, we lived back the country road.
So you stored... So the food you stored in the spring house?
In the spring house.
And did you dry meat?
Oh, yeah, we had a smokehouse.
So you didn't have like lunch meat sandwiches?
We might add
Tell me what a typical breakfast, a typical dinner, and a typical supper would have been, and snack if you would have had one.
A typical breakfast would be eggs and bacon or ham, and always biscuits. We never had bread, never. I didn't know what bread was unless we moved to the city, and then I would know bread. But otherwise, bread was like a piece of cake to us because we had to eat biscuits all the time. And so, but we always had gravy, and then in the season, fruit season, my grandmother would always make the best. She would take peaches and make like peaches and a sauce with dumplings and cook them on the stove. And
For breakfast?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we would have oatmeal. That was rare. We had oatmeal, but we would always have. It was always ham and bacon and eggs and biscuits and gravy. That was a typical
Breakfast.
And,
How about?
and then for lunch, we would always, whatever meat was left from breakfast, that would be on the table at lunchtime too, with some other type of meat. And they always had.
And how was the meat typically prepared for? Like, I'm assuming your bacon and your ham are fried.
No, we had an oven.
Well, I'm saying at breakfast.
Oh yeah, mostly it was fried.
So
And we always had a bacon grease can sitting on the stove to pour the bacon grease in. We kept the bacon grease and used bacon grease to season everything. Everything was seasoned with bacon grease.
And this is off topic, but I do want to ask, did you use lard for making soap? Did they make soap?
My mother and grandmother made soap. Mm-hmm.
So did they use the lard to do it? Do you know?
I honestly,
Did you ever see them make it?
No, I got in trouble because I was sent up to Aunt Luler's, my grandmother's sister, to borrow something, and I don't remember what it was, but they were waiting for me to bring it back to make soap. And I got to playing up there with the kids, and I just spent the whole day.
And we wonder where we get it from.
And I can tell you now, my parents never thought anything like that was funny.
Well, guess not. When you need to have soap, it's not like, you know.
Yeah,
and now you can
it was tough because they had the big kettle outside and a fire going under the kettle, boiling the water, stirring the clothes, kneading the soap, and they're waiting for me to bring it, but I'm having fun.
Okay, so let's regress back to lunch. So a typical lunch would be leftover breakfast, and then how would the meat be prepared for lunch?
It could be fried or baked, or my mother and my grandmother both were pretty good at making things with little, and they would always have some, maybe stew, maybe green beans with potatoes and ham in it, and the same for dinner.
So something very similar for dinner.
Yeah.
And then...
But dinner was our big one. Supper was lighter.
That makes a lot more sense.
What now people call lunch, we call dinner. And lunch was not a thing. It was breakfast, dinner, and supper. And supper was always the lightest.
Now, did you have, I know you said you raised hogs, and so pork, I'm assuming, was a big part of what you guys had, but did you have cows also? Did you have steer?
No, we had milking cows.
Okay, so not meat cows.
No.
Did you guys do game? Did anybody hunt or trap?
No, but we raised chickens.
Okay, so you had chicken also. So no rabbit. Did you guys raise rabbits? So just ham?
Ham and pork, and I mean, that is ham, but ham, we used the whole thing. Yeah. And just think, the whole thing. Yeah. Absolutely, everything.
Oh, what did you do with the tongue?
No, I don't think, if I can remember right, we did not use the tongue.
Did you have pets?
Pets were never allowed in the house. Pets were not allowed in the house. They were farm animals, and they just didn't.
Not your chickens or your pigs, but like a dog or a cat.
No, not allowed in the house.
No, but did you feed them?
Oh yeah. They were lucky to get they appreciated all the scraps they got. So my favorite school was in Detroit. And because I was from the South, I worked on not having my accent now, because people, like they still do, they make fun of you. Kids in school, they're kind of mean, like bullying now, only we didn't know the word bullying back then. It was just they picked on me. And so it didn't bother the rest of my siblings. They didn't care if they talked like they from down south, but it bothered me, and I didn't want anybody laughing at me, so I worked hard on it. So, but that's where my favorite school was, and my favorite girlfriend was a little black girl, and I wanted my hair braided like hers. So on the way home, I stopped by her house, and her mother braided my head with must have been 50 pickaninnies in it. And when I got home, my mother fell off the chair laughing, but she let me wear those pickaninnies till they started falling out. But I have a lot of good memories from my school in Detroit.
Did you play games on the playground? Do you remember
Yes.
games? What kind of games did you play?
You know what? We did the typical thing. There was all kinds of equipment, playground equipment that we used, and we could do whatever we wanted on the playground equipment. And I can remember Jim, even in elementary school, climbing ropes. I don't think they do that anymore, where the rope was at the ceiling and you had to wrap your legs around it and climb the rope. And of course I never could get very far, and my sister, that was such a priss, she could shinny up that rope like nobody's business, and shinny up a tree pretty good too. And everybody thought I was the tomboy, but I couldn't do any of those things that my sister Jackie could do. So.
And what was your general attitude about school? Did you like school, or did you?
I did like school. I think I liked school because it was something special, and your friends were there. And I went to Lafayette Junior High, and that was when I moved from North Carolina to Maryland, and we moved to Baltimore, Maryland. And it was across the street from the 5th Regiment Armory in Baltimore. And I don't know if that's even there anymore, but from there, that went from 7th to the 9th grade. And then I went to Eastern High School to the 10th grade, where I quit and got married. Well, I already knew everything.
Do you remember the name of the high school?
Eastern High.
Oh yeah, you said that. Were you popular in school?
Pretty much so. I was as popular with the boys as I was with the girls. I had a lot of friends that were boys, and I had boys. I think I just fit in better with boys than I did with girls. I don't know why, but I had, and I don't know even how I remember my best friend's name was Shirley Tosh, and I lost contact with her over the years, but she was my best friend in school.
Can you remember a historical event that happened when you were in school? Particularly either junior high or high.
The Korea War.
Okay, so something that I remember.
Something that I totally remember was the Korea War broke out, and I remember that was the only historical thing that I can really remember that happened. There's probably a lot of other things.
Would you rather be in high school in today's world, or when you were?
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to go to school now. It's just so hard on the kids with the bullying and with everything's nothing is like it was when I went to school. I don't think there is anything at all. We certainly didn't have to have a guard at school. We did not have to have a dog to sniff for drugs. We did not have to worry about someone coming and shooting us up, or maybe bringing a hatchet. It's just a terrible place for kids to be in today's world, in the school. No, nothing is like, and Baltimore was a place, I loved Baltimore. And to go there now is really sad.
Now you said you completed 10th grade. Why did you, aside from the fact that you thought you knew everything already, why did you actually quit school in the 10th grade?
I quit school in the 10th grade because I got married. Not because my parents told me I could. Things were very different. You could go get a Social Security card with no ID. No ID, just go in and tell them you wanted a Social Security card. So I had two different ones, and I went in, and as a joke, my friends and I went in, and my one friend got one, Hopalong Cassidy, that's his name, and I don't know what he ever done with it, but yeah, they used to, which was not a good thing if you were not a really good kid. And I am never claiming that I was a really good kid. I wasn't bad, but I was right there getting my second Social Security card too.
If you could have one conversation with yourself when you were a high school student, what would you say?
Stay in school.
No.
And if I could, of course, we're never going back, so there's no point in looking back because we're going forward. And I remind myself of that. It's no point in looking back. You have to go forward. But if I knew then what I know now, when I thought I knew everything, I would certainly stay in school and have a different life with an education and be able to do more to help my kids. Because once I got married and had kids, it's all about my kids and their life and trying to make it better for them. And then when they were pretty well grown, I decided to go to school and get my high school diploma. Something that I totally remember was the Korea War broke out, and I remember that was the only historical thing that I can really remember that happened. There's probably a lot of other things.
Would you rather be in high school in today's world or when you were?
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to go to school now. It's just so hard on the kids with the bullying and with the everything's, nothing is like it was when I went to school. I don't think there is anything at all. We certainly didn't have to have a guard at school. We did not have to have a dog to sniff for drugs. We did not have to worry about someone coming and shooting us up, or maybe bringing a hatchet. It's just a terrible place for kids to be in today's world, in the school. No, nothing is like, and Baltimore was a place, I loved Baltimore. And to go there now is really sad.
Now you said you completed 10th grade. Why did you, aside from the fact that you thought you knew everything already, why did you actually quit school in the 10th grade?
I quit school in the 10th grade because I got married. Not because my parents told me I could. And if I could, of course, we're never going back, so there's no point in looking back because we're going forward. And I remind myself of that. It's no point in looking back. I mean, you have to go forward. But if I knew then what I know now, when I thought I knew everything, I would certainly stay in school and have a different life with an education and be able to do more to help my kids. Because once I got married and had kids, it's all about my kids and their life and trying to make it better for them. And then when and they were pretty well grown, I decided to go back to school and get my high school diploma.
Do you remember telling your husband that you were pregnant?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So explain, was it a surprise? Did you plan for it?
No, none of my children were planned.
So which of your children did you have the most memorable ride to the hospital for delivery? Were any of them in particular eventful?
Well, I guess really with Jimmy, we didn't have a car, and he had to call his brother in the middle of the night and wake him up to take us.
How were you planning on getting to the hospital?
I don't know. I was 17 and he was 18, and we hadn't planned that far, you know. We didn't have plans like that.
Oh my gosh.
And then with...
Do you remember your maternity clothes?
Oh my goodness, the maternity clothes back then were horrific. They had a big hole in the front and a string that tied around the waist to hold them on. And the maternity tops came down long to hide the hole of and then somewhere, that was with Jimmy, and when Cindy, 5 years later, they at least had put elastic in the circle there.
Discipline. Let's talk about discipline. How did you discipline your children?
How did I discipline my children? Mostly, the truth of the fact is, I sat them down and talked to them. I don't ever remember I would take something away from them, maybe the use of the phone. And I recall one time I even took the phones from the house to work with me, so they could not use phones when they came home from school.
Was it hard for you to be disciplined with disciplining them?
No, it really wasn't. I didn't find it difficult at all.
And which of your children needed the most discipline?
Oh, poor Cindy. Why would Jackie ask me which child of mine needed the most discipline? She knew who I was going to say.
It's in the book.
Oh.
Well,
I'm sorry, Cindy.
Why? Well, why do you think that Cindy needed the most discipline?
Well, because she even got a paddling in school in the 2nd grade. They still did paddling in school. And she come home and told me, but now I really had to know why, because if I thought my child was wrong, I let it be. The teacher was right. But if I thought my child was right, I went to the school. And that's the way we worked that out. And I said, Cindy, you got a paddling? What were you doing? She said, all I was doing was cleaning my desk out. And I said, well, what were you supposed to be doing? And she said, my spelling work. I said, well, then next time. She said she was bent over cleaning her desk out, and Mrs. Collette came with the paddle and whacked her. I said, well, the next time you'll be sitting at your desk doing your work. And that was the end of that.
Did she stay out of trouble in school then?
Are you serious?
No, I was joking. What TV shows do you remember your kids watching? And did you watch TV with your kids?
Yes, I did watch TV with my kids.
And what did you guys watch together?
I can't remember.
Did you guys eat in front of the TV?
No. No, we always ate at the table. That was a thing. We always ate at the table.
Who did you have to take to the doctor the most?
Cindy.
Ever the emergency room?
To the emergency room, to the doctor.
How were the teenage years for you and your kids?
Well, honestly, looking at today's teenagers, I had no trouble at all. Although I did have problems, but they weren't anything really bad. They were just teenage problems.
What was the scariest moment in parenting for you?
My scariest moment was probably, I had two of almost the exact same things that would be just about equal. So I would have to say, well, maybe three things. Actually, with three of different ones of my children. One, Cindy put a big round one of those white and red round peppermint candy, put it in her mouth, and it close your one pint. And my father, if he hadn't been there, I was screaming, "She's already dead, she's blue, and I'm hysterical. And my father grabbed her up and by her feet. And when he did, he hit her head on the corner of the cabinet, and the candy flew out. But
Grandpa.
it was a terrible time because I really thought she had choked to death. And the other was with Sally. I thought I lost her. We went to a car race thing, and it was on the 4th of July, and it was like shoulder to shoulder people. And I was holding her hand, but I didn't even know I was holding her hand because I was so afraid. She was so little that I was afraid she was going to just get lost in the crowd. So I'm screaming, "Sally's missing, Sally's missing." But I was holding her hand. The other one was Jackie. She used to hide from me. Every time we went in the store, she would hide into clothes.
Well, it was fun.
Yeah, and she'd open the cabinets below where they kept their storage stuff, and she would hide in those. And it was Christmas week, and Sally and I were with Jackie up at the mall shopping, and they didn't even have intercoms in the store then. And I thought she was with Sally, and Sally thought Jackie was with me. And she was carrying my package, and we looked in all the cabinets, we looked in all the clothing, and I just knew somebody had stolen her and left the mall with her. And so we were running. I was hysterical running up through the mall, and I said, "Let's go where Santa Claus is." And she was standing there holding the package, and she was so scared. She said, "Hi, God, no, Vicky left me." But she never hid from me in the clothes again at the store.
What was the best part of being a parent?
Just having my kids with me and having fun. And I remember my sister used to say to me, why do you have to take all the kids with you when we go someplace? And I said, well, because I like to. And I had girls, and not that my son didn't want to go shopping or go with us, but my girls did. And she found out after she had a daughter, because she went everywhere with her then, and she saw it. Girls are different, and boys don't normally like to hang out with their mother, and girls do. Most of the time. And my girls did. I was blessed. They liked to hang out with me.
What's the worst part of being a parent?
I think the worst part of being a parent is knowing you can't make the decisions and choices for your kids, and you have to try and teach them the best way that you know how, that they're going to make the most of what they're doing with their life, and to make it better than they see their parents did. And that's not to say that they think their parents didn't do a good job or a bad job. They just want to be a step farther ahead, and hopefully that trend would continue. And I see that happens, that in most families, every step, the next step, that parent wants it. And sometimes you can go too far making it better, that it ruins the child. So it's how far do you want to go to make it better for them. I always instilled in my kids, as soon as they could get that permit to go to work, get a job, get a job. You want a car? I'm here to help you, but I'm not going to help you if you don't help yourself. And I think all 4 of my children would tell you that. First part is teaching them and knowing you're doing the best that you know how to do, and you're hoping and praying that it works.
Right? I hope this turns out right. Because what if it doesn't? There's no going back.
Because each child is individual. There is not. I think some of my kids have similar things alike. Well, all 4 of them have something that's similar that will remind me of one of the other ones. But they're all individuals, and they all do things different, make decisions differently, raise their children differently. They are all their own individual self, and that's the way it should be. If I could be a parent all over again, that's a terrible thought. Because I might not do as well. You know, we can look back and think of the things that we should have done that we didn't do. And what if we had done them? Would our kids be better or worse? I don't know. So looking back, I honestly think I did everything that I knew how to do. The best that I knew how to do with the education that I had. Because I think all of my children, not that they aren't great now, and not that they're, but just to know how much more I could have given them had I been more educated. And I don't mean giving them more love or giving them more structure, because I think I gave my kids structure. I think I gave them a good basics in life. They knew if they stayed up too late on Saturday, they were just going to be sorry Sunday morning because they had to go to church.
Yes, we did.
And that was a given. If Sunday came, you had to go to church, whether you stayed up all night or not. So I think I did give my kids that one thing that a lot of kids that had everything didn't have everything because they didn't have that. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that in your life, you've missed out on too much.
Well, I think me personally, knowing that the majority of good thoughts that I have about myself are echoes in my head from you. You know, that I knew you loved me no matter what. You know, that to me, knowing that unconditional love.
Yeah.
Because I know not everybody has that. And you know, regardless of whether we had money or we didn't have money, I knew that we had each other.
Yeah, and I can remember maybe Sally or maybe Cindy saying we were poor. And I said, we are not poor. We might be broke, but we are not poor. I know what poor is, and we are far from being poor.
Yeah.
All my children have done great things, and they have made me proud to be a mother. And that was my greatest joy in my life, and the greatest thing that I believe I ever accomplished was raising 4 great children that love one another, and we are a very close-knit family, and all my children are great.
And the first child came to you and told you that you were going to be a grandparent. What were your first words?
I remember when my son called me. I was at work. I was working 2 jobs at the time, and I was working my part-time job, and he called me, and not on a cell phone because they didn't have cell phones then, and he said, "You're going to be a grandmother," and I was very excited. It was my son's first child, and was a boy.
How old were you?
I was 39.
That's so young to be a grandmom.
And that's what my son said when he became a grandfather. I'm too young to be a grandfather. I said, you know what? You're a grandfather, and that makes me a great grandmother, and I'm too young to be a great grandmother, so just suck it up.
Did you ever babysit for any of your grandkids?
Yes, I did.
Did you ever take any of your grandkids on a trip with you?
No, we've taken them with us for day trips, but nothing to go away.
When your grandkids come to spend the night with you, or when they have come spend the night with you, how would you spend those evenings?
When my grandchildren come to spend the night with me, it depended on which grandchildren it was. Amber and Tyler would always have their own thing that they did if they came together, which they did a lot of times. They would come spend the weekend, and they would always make up spy games because they were always pretending they were spies. And then when I'm trying to think who Logan came with, Isaiah, they were pirates, and they had Monopoly money and this little container. If they came in pairs, they always played their own games and did their own thing, and it was always fun to watch and catch them doing something they weren't supposed to be doing.
No.
Oh yes. But if one thing that my granddaughter Cheyenne told me the last time I saw her, she said, "I remember you always read us stories when we came over."
What do you fix your grandkids to eat when they come to visit?
When my grandchildren come to visit, they mostly tell me what they want, and they usually come very hungry. I don't know why, but my children did that when they went to their grandparents' house. Even if they just ate, when we got to their grandparents, they were still hungry. I think it must be something when kids go to their grandparents' house. They just get hungry when they go in. But mostly, if I had to say one thing that they always ask for, preferably over many other things, is a grilled cheese.
What's one thing that you would like to be sure they remember?
That I love. The one thing that I want my kids and my grandchildren to always remember, that I love them with all my heart. And I did not have a favorite, no matter what they say. I never had a favorite.
What do you want your grandchildren to remember about you?
I like the idea that they can remember that they came here and that when they got here, they were hungry, and whatever they asked me to fix them, I fixed them, and that I loved them, and that I loved reading to them, and I would watch movies with them.
What does it feel like 5 minutes after your grandkids have left?
5 minutes after, that I hope it isn't that long between visits.
How easy is it for you to resist telling your children how to raise your grandchildren?
Oh, I have no problem telling them.
Oh, so you don't resist at all?
No. My favorite radio show was, this was battery operated, and we had a wire attached to it that ran out the window, and it was a ground wire, so it would not be so full of static, and we would all gather around the fireplace, and we would listen to the creaking door, and it would make this creaking noise, and then the shadow nose, and there was, I can't, Amos and Andy come on every night, and that was a funny, it was funny. So they had other ones that I can't remember the name of, but I do remember Amos and Andy and the creaking door and the shadow. But there were a couple more funny ones that came on too, and that was like, you had to pay attention, so everybody had to be quiet. So it's not like you can flip back and watch it over like the television, and you don't have a visual of it. Your visual is in your mind, so you have to picture.
And they weren't pre-recorded, right? They were all live.
No, they were all live, yeah. And so just to know that you had to really listen and get up close, and you didn't want to miss a word of it. And then you couldn't wait till the next night to know what was going to happen, just like your programs that you have now, that you can't wait till to see next week what happens. In 1954, we got a television. We never watched a television as a family like we did. Nothing will ever top the radio, because you had to sit there and listen and didn't want to miss it. But the TV, after the novelty wore off, it was no big deal.
What's your favorite Walt Disney film?
All dogs go to heaven.
All right. Do you ever listen to records?
No.
What's your preference in music?
Gospel.
Do you listen to current music?
I do. I never thought I would really love some of the newer gospel music. I thought it had to be old-time gospel or it was not good.
What TV shows did you used to watch like a long time ago that you wish that they would bring back?
The One-Armed Bandit.
What TV shows are really dumb but you still watch them anyway?
Monk. That is the dumbest. But I watch it.
Do you and your spouse enjoy the same entertainer and types of entertainment?
Do my spouse and I enjoy the same? Do I like Wicked Tuna? Do I like Motor Week? Do I like How It's Made? Do I like Fast and Furious? Do I like Swamp People? No, we don't. Does he like Fox News? No way. But he does watch Hallmark Channel with me now.
Do you ever look at paintings? Have you ever been to a gallery? Do you enjoy looking at paintings?
I do enjoy looking at paintings very much. And I have learned to appreciate photography and from several different ways. Howard's son went to college for photography when he lived in California, and I have some fabulous photography pictures that he had taken. And my granddaughter Cheyenne took an amazing picture of a boat on one of her trips to Ireland, and I didn't know it. I said to her mother, I really like that picture. And she said, oh, Cheyenne took that. It's a boat that she saw in Ireland. And so photography to me can be just as beautiful as hand-painted, taken in the right way.
Who do you trust?
Some people with some things, and some people with other things, and some people I keep it to myself.
Do you have any real vices?
And I don't know if you could call it a vice, but I tend to exaggerate sometimes, and I don't think I'm doing anything wrong, but I tell it the way I see it, and that's not the way they saw it. So I don't know if you want to call that a vice or not. My children would probably say I have that vice. So
have you ever thought about what you want your epitaph to say?
I have thought about that. I really
Nothing's
have.
come to you?
But I'm going to be cremated, so I won't have anything.
Where would you like your ashes? Or are you going to have them like set out on fire like a Viking?
No, I would like my ashes. I would like my husband and my children, and of course my grandchildren, but they might not feel like they want to be part of that. I don't know, but I would hope that they would, and I think most of my grandchildren would be upset if they weren't there. So I would just like it as a group to find the most luscious hillside in Carroll County, because this has been my home for a long time, and on a nice, beautiful sunny day with a slight breeze blowing, and then just let my ashes blow in the wind.
At sunset or sunrise?
It can be any time of the day, because I want my kids to know that I am in the wind, and maybe one day when their hair is blowing in the wind, it's me there, that I'm giving them a kiss, or I want them to feel me in the breeze that they feel.
Have you ever been the victim of a crime? Have you ever committed a crime?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm sure I never committed a crime.
What little things do you regret?
No, but I did have all my teeth pulled at the top because I had a little space that bothered me. So I have rather have all, and I had not one cavity. And look at my pictures when I was young and had nice teeth. I mean, really nice teeth. And why would I do something that dumb? I can say I must have had a midlife crisis, but that space bothered me, and I had all my teeth pulled. And the rest of my life, I have regretted it.
Have you ever felt betrayed?
Yes, a lot of times.
I've never betrayed you, have I? I've hurt your feelings, I know, but...
Well, I've hurt your feelings, haven't I?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I've never made you feel betrayed.
No, never. Not one time. I am a hard-nosed Republican. I was born and raised Baptist, and then I went to a Methodist church because we lived in the city and I didn't drive, I had to walk, so my kids and I walked to the closest church, which was a Methodist church, until we moved to Carroll County, and then I went back to the Baptist church, and then I changed to Pentecostal. Really bounced back and forth, and I live next door to a Catholic priest, and I am friends with him, and I figure I've got all the bases covered. Plus I know God knows me, but most important, I know him. When I was young, when my family was young, I should say, my children, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had a daycare, and I did that until my children were all in school, and then I went to work in a factory where I worked for 26 years until they closed the factory down. And then I went back to school and got my high school diploma, and went to work for a nonprofit Christian-based thrift store that I was manager for the next 26 years, and now I am retired.
If you hold a fundamental truth, what is it? What's your favorite candy bar?
My favorite candy bar, hands down, is Kit Kat.
What's your favorite kind of cake?
My favorite kind of cake is honestly strawberry shortcake.
How about ice cream?
Strawberry cheesecake.
That's what's in your freezer right now.
No, we ate all that.
Oh, man.
I would say that there is a God, and He is alive, and He is a judge and a jury, and we are answerable to Him at the end of the day.
What modern conveniences are your favorite?
The washing machine and the dishwasher.
They're so utilitarian. They're your favorite.
Yes, they are.
Not the phone?
No.
No?
No.
All right.
Although the phone is pretty handy.
How do you like your eggs?
I like my eggs scrambled only because I have to pick them apart before I fry them. That chunk of white that's in there, I cannot eat. I mean, it's like a lump. And my sister told me a story when I was very young, and whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I took her at her word, and I always had to take a fork and pick that part out. So, of course, when you pick that out, it's stuck to the yellow part of the egg, and it always breaks. And if that weren't in there, I would like my eggs turned and have them dippy. I would love that, but I can't eat them, so I have to have them scrambled.
Do you follow any rules of nutrition?
Absolutely not.
Yes, you do. You are a strict vegetarian.
Yeah, but that's not following the strict.
Yeah, what you eat. Nutrition is what you eat.
Okay. Well, I'll just say I'm not a vegan. I mean, I just don't know how vegans live. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat fish, and I don't eat crabs. I just can't see why anyone would eat a crab. But I do eat shrimp sometimes. But there isn't many vegetables that I don't like. I could just live my whole life on vegetables.
What's your favorite snack?
Really, potato chips are a favorite snack.
Are you allergic to any food?
Only okra that I don't like. I'm not allergic to it. It just makes me want to go yuck.
What do you like on your pizza?
Cheese and tomato sauce. And whatever oregano and some shaky cheese. And
no pineapple or anything?
No, but you know, I did try it with onion on it once, and it was good. I never thought it would be. And my friend said, why don't we get an onion on our pizza? And I said, for real? And she said, yeah. So I said, okay, I will try it, and I can always pick it off. And you know what? I tried it, and it was good. So cheese and onion on top of the pizza.
Do you think fast food was a good development?
That's a double-edged sword, because fast food can be a good thing if you're in a total rush and need something fast. That's why it's called fast food. But we have turned it into lunchtime, breakfast time, dinner time, and that is not a good thing. So is it a good thing? Sometimes it can be, but more often it is not, and it makes our kids chubby.
Have you ever gone dancing?
When I was a teenager. Oh, and I have gone dancing a couple times. Even since I've been married to Howard, we went to a couple Stampmeyer bands and we danced a little bit.
So, what kind of dances do you do?
The bop and the twist. And
do you remember where you learned them, or when you learned them?
Well, actually, way back, and my favorite rock and roll song. And I used to watch a show called The Buddy Dean Show that came on, and that was in the 50s and 60s. And watching that, and my favorite Fats Domino was Blueberry Hill. I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill, and he just recently passed away. A great rock and roller, yes.
When you and your friends get together socially, what do you do?
Well, one couple that we get together with every week, and we have been doing this for 28 years. We play canasta, the girls against the guys. And sometimes the guys get on winning streaks and we lose for weeks upon weeks. But then the tide turns. And I don't want to brag, but the tide turned our way. And it just reminded me of that old saying, every worm has his turn, so I guess we've got our turn.
I don't think that's a saying.
Yeah, or my mother made it up. Actually, you're not recording this now, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to tell you one that my mother really did say all the time.
Well, let's hear it.
No, I don't. No, it just doesn't seem like good.
I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Is it something to do with a witch and a brass bra?
No, it's colder than...
a witch's tit and a brass bra, yeah.
Okay.
Well, what did Granny say?
Well, I'm not saying that on a recording.
Is there anything that you need that you don't have?
No.
About yourself, what are you the most proudest of?
That I have lived to be 80 years old and I can still get up and do all the things that I do, and still have most of my senses about me.
And have your moments of happiness outweighed your moments of regret?
I would say they have, indeed. And at the end of the day for me, I would say my happy days have far outweighed my sad days. My happy times have far outweighed my sad times. I believe Bryson and I don't remember my grandfather's name.
Wait. We need to put that on recording. Nobody needs to know that.
Oh, that's right. Delete
Delete,
that.
delete.
That's one of the major inventions, the delete button.
The delete.
Yeah, I should have it on my mouse.
All right. I'll like undo that for you. Okay.
Ready?
Hold on, Mimi.
Go. Oh.
Come on, man, let's get this thing moving.
my God.